Hi, everybody. Welcome to my stupid commentary, because I make movies now, I guess. That's still really weird to get used to. Opening quote. I wanted to establish tone early by juxtaposing the original material with sarcasm. Um, I don't know how effectively that was actually communicated. I, um, I didn't really know what music to use for this. I did remember to do a call to action though, which I'm really bad at. This table is a very janky operating slab that I built from foam and blue tack, hence why it jitters around so much throughout the scene. I actually built this set like a year ago for Hidden Intelligence, but it finally came in handy for the CR, which is great. This is Balewin as Hero, turning in a fantastic performance. I dig the idea that Aruto naturally serves as a distraction for Guy due to his tendency to launch into sales pitches. He's like a golden retriever. If that makes sense. I like Guy in the background there. It sucks that the bed is so lightweight. I wasn't able to pull Dan off of it without it tipping over, which is why that all happens between shots. I think this is the messiest scene. Obviously, it was the first one shot, but you learn by doing, you know? Um, that's what my Jordan Peele video was about.
Get the fuck out of here before I call security.
I like, there's a lot of different tricks for simulating high speed that I tried to use and, like, learn from the production notes of Zero One. And I try to incorporate those into my animation whenever I can. It's going to be easier now that I have a rig. This is a song by Life On that I found when I was combing through Frankenstein songs, which there are surprisingly few of. I think it's really great. It does. It's very hard to convey the sense of like mad science and sort of gothic horror in the way that this does, while still using modern equipment. You know what I mean? I used footage from the OG 1930s movie, obviously, just to reinforce that that's the source that I'm going with, rather than the book, in case the opening quote confused anyone. And there's all of you. I forgot to add Keelan in on the first set of credits because of the late edition, and I am so sorry. But I got you in the end on the second set, I promise. I just think this whole song is an absolute jam. I linked it in the description of the video just in case you're curious to go listen to it for yourself. I think you should. It definitely deserves clicks. It looks like he left a couple of years ago, stopped making videos. Sucks. I love that bit, just slap him down. The shoes joke here is a reference to Boris Karloff forgetting to take off his dress shoes in the final cut of the 1930s film. Uh, I guess he just wore them to set and nobody noticed the entire time and it made it in. There's a lot of bloopers in the movie. Aruto runs around his office a lot in the show. Those stairs were a death trap waiting to happen. I feel like Aruto would be kind of casually homophobic given how he reacted to the first black person he ever saw. Like, he doesn't actually hate like gay people consciously, he's just programmed by terrible comedy, whereas Guy just loves humanity and transhumanism, so naturally he'd be an actual advocate and rebuff him. The God line up here is set up for the later joke with the rain. I love when Naruto gives people the benefit of the doubt. I feel like that's a good source of wholesomeness as comedic foreplay. He really just wants the best for everybody and has no idea what it is. I thought it would be funny if Guy is so repulsed by Aruto's humor that his muscle memory breaks his arm in order to stop it from happening. Plus, he has that Wolverine healing factor, so it just heals right up. Guy chose violence and Naruto responded in kind. I don't want their relationship to just be one-sided with like Guy just dunking on Naruto, you know? I want there to be balance, like spy versus spy or something. Not meant to be mean, but like celebratory of their flaws, if that makes sense. God, pull the trigger's so good. The Kamen Rider J cameo is the result of a lack of budget and resources. I had no idea how to film the ceiling opening up, so I remembered Happiness of the Katakuris, the Takashi Miike movie, had characters become claymation for the action sequences that would be too expensive to film, and I realized, oh, I can just lean into the fact that this is a toy set and break the fourth wall. See, this conversation's also fluid because I didn't need a rig for it. I've been posting my test footage on the page because I need people to know that I can do better, I promise.
What do you know? You died and went to hell. I think that was just a simulation.
I love Real Time so much. What a good movie.
A few moments later.
The SpongeBob cutaway is iconic. I've been using those in my long form memes on the Facebook page for a few years now. Just a fantastic, tangible beat. And now he has pulled the trigger stuck in his head. I think that's my second favorite joke in this, just because it has that extra scene to breathe so that people will forget before you bring it back.
Hours later.
Aruto is holding Yu-Gi-Oh cards from the Figma, but they're obscured by his hands. I love the idea of these casual conversations between writer characters so much. That's all Zaya Theater is, really. I made these Hedon furniture sets in the book, by the way. It's Pet Cemetery, because Guy loves animals. I love when he does the T-pose, and I love when Naruto is supportive, because they have to be friends, because all their other friends died. I also really like Guy's obsession with evolution. He really was the perfect vessel for a Frankenstein parody. I thought it would be cute to use some drivers as the gadgets for the experiment. You know, they naturally sort of blend into that sort of environment. It ties it all back into Kamen Rider technology. Green screen ass lightning effect. I'm getting a zoom lens for Christmas, so I should be able to get much closer on shots like this. For this bit, I just filmed myself posing Guy differently and pushing him in front of the camera, and then just trimmed it and accelerated it to match the vocal track, to simulate the speed of the suits on the show. They used a lot of really interesting tricks on Zero One to convey speed. I talked about that earlier. I used the Metal Gear Solid 3 sting for this because it's surprisingly hard to track down specific dramatic stings.
I want you to sit.
That's a direct quote. I left some blue tack on the table there, and his foot. Really sloppy.
Why?
I think that this is where the limitations really begin to show. Without a rig per figure, animating this sort of thing is a nightmare. I have one now, which is amazing and drastically expands my options, but you can see everything shifting around between frames and it just looks awkward and shifty. Guy bragging while getting his ass kicked will never stop being funny to me, though. Plus, I got to sneak in another book quote.
Your kid.
I had to not film any reviews for like 2 weeks while I grew this mustache out because it would have been super embarrassing. It took a bit to get the lighting right. Guy's dad always has backlighting, but I don't have his giant window, so I had to use a lamp to avoid excess spillover. He's reading a book on Lovecraft because he's anti-robot, and that can be read as racist in Zero One. There's actually a discrepancy on the wikis about his real name. It's either Ichiko or Ikematsu, depending on the resource. I thought the documentary talking head format was a natural evolution of all the letter exchanges in the book, is why this is all live action. Everyone loves Dan Kuroda. I love the drops in this shot. Guy's hands are held together with blue tack. Uh, the only thing Guy ever did to please his dad was bring back some other kid he liked better. Look at that leg bounce. I did that. The Hirobi ear thing is my legitimate theory, putting aside the liberating himself of his shackles metaphor, like how he burned off his ID brand on his hand. I love the idea that upon having a kid, Guy has immediately become his father and just starts removing all joy from Dan's life, is where this joke came from. Like, obviously, it's a parallel of the scene where the creature reaches for the light in the original, but you know, you gotta work with what you got. And I think it just works really well for the character. I wish I had a tiny bath for a cutaway like this, but I think it works despite that. Maybe a little robe for Guy. Aruto torturing the creature with terrible elementary school puns was the first idea that came to mind when this project came to conception. I knew that Guy worked, but that was the clincher to ensure that this was the right premise to go with. Like, the whole 01 cast really just works with the whole Frankenstein parody format. It's hard. Aruto has that break to his voice when he does his catchphrase that's very hard to emulate. I have a lot of respect for Fumiya as an actor. I actually really like Aruto as a character with the full context of the series and movie. This is the Fantastic Bookstore Kamiyama set. I just needed a classic, like a classy doorway for the laboratory for this shot. Tried to use different rider toys for background gadgets to simulate different rooms in the lab is why you'll see them shifting. I love them so much. This song, you know it. It's called Morning Wood, by the way. So the close-up on Dan's face here is a reference to King Kong. I couldn't toss a kid into a lake because I didn't have a rig, so I settled for a rider kick to demonstrate that Dan is just inherently destructive. I love how that came out. I use a lot of 2D animation methodology to make this stuff look more hyperbolic. Aruto in this is petting Thouser way too hard, though. I need to pace myself on the subtler movements, but those Figuarts joints can be so stiff, you know? Really hard to get the tiny movements. Like, I couldn't get his arm to go all the way down there.
Listen, there's an angry mob at the door to see you. Should I let them in?
I love Guy acting out to relieve the stress of adult responsibility like a cat. This is the Mario All-Stars title screen chatter. From Mario All-Stars. I slipped a commercial in. Buy my product. So this is the big cameo scene. I really want to do more stuff like this. I was surprised we got so many volunteers. I think it's neat to be able to give something back to the people who support me like this. Everyone wants to be a writer, you know, and I think everybody just did a really great job. Hirobi is just resigned to his kid dying and reviving forever. I love how Guy rushes to take the first possible opportunity to throw Aruto under the bus. The silent head turn was improvised. That was all Aruto, as was Guy blocking him with the Zetsamurizer and him shifting out of the way. I swear to God, these things are actual tiny actors. I think this sort of mid-show guy absolutely would try to capitalize off of everybody else's misery.
Wow, so you're like really out of shape, huh?
That's my favorite line. The lightning is all just turning lights off and on. The arc itself I built very publicly on Twitter step by step, and I think it turned out great for what it is. I really wanted to get that old school light bleed on the wings.
What are you gonna do, Guy? Protect my city.
Didn't you make the monster, though?
Guy is the king of spinning narratives, but he can't answer to himself.
Hirobi, can you shut the fuck up?
Sure. Wipe each other out, for all I care.
This is a Tim Robinson reference I'm a big fan of I Think You Should Leave.
Stupid asshole.
Aruto is cheery as always, despite the context, which I love. This shot took forever. That arch is not big enough. I built it out of scrap. The boxes were a nightmare. That was all done with blue tack. This is my favorite joke, though. It's just the first half of every Genom special. I like Hirobi got distracted looking at his watch because he just doesn't care. Throwing the body was again super hard without a rig. I actually bent one of his horns having him fall over. He was planted in the foam floor for stability.
Oh. Guy, are you okay?
Guy falls down constantly. It's like his special interest.
Dan, you're being a
I think all of this stuff looks really nice. It's really smooth.
Don't you do it.
Asshole.
Yeah. You know, I thought for sure I'd win the second time.
Guy usually wins in the back half.
Use your words.
I really thought I had gotten enough action for the Dan monologue, but it just goes to show you how much math goes into stop motion, which I am just terrible at. It's 24 FPS, so 24 frames is 1 second of movement, so you have to break the shots down by timing of the vocal track, which is always where I get my math wrong, you know? The light flicker is a real issue. I don't have a great setup for a lot of electronics, so I've been running everything off of a spike bar, which causes fluctuation. It's not just me standing in the light or anything, no worries. It's an issue with the tools that I use. Guy is pragmatic enough to resolve conflicts without violence, but the problem is he can't help proving that he's better than other people.
Shame it didn't work out.
And of course, he's immune to fall damage.
Did that make you feel better? You a big man now?
You are so annoying! Holy shit!
Voice of the audience. This part I'm really hoping that I did justice to the concept of. The joke is never meant to be that this Dan has a vagina, but rather that Dan is so obsessed with himself that he would only ever truly love himself, which I really hope comes across. I don't think identity is a cool thing to punch down about. Obviously, y'all have seen my Poitrine video. I'm literally non-binary.
I've been too hard on you, haven't I?
Please don't cancel me over giving Dan a vagina.
There you go, Dan. Go find
There's a
yourself
weird little frame skip at the end here that I can't pin down. I've looked through it all, and it isn't a file issue. I think it may have just been a bad render that I missed before the upload. This is Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet Overture is the song. I used ASMR for the mouth noises, plugged in Dan's back hole with blue tack, surprise. I joke that there's no lesson here, but obviously the lesson is the same as the book, that pride goeth before the fall, pardon the pun. I really hope that I managed to make this work as a standalone 0-1 film, but I'm too aware of Frankenstein mythos to know for sure. It's ironic, I suppose. It may just be even more niche. Who can ever tell?
Hey, happy Halloween.
Was not Halloween when that came out. This song is a cover of Frankenstein by Rina Sawayama, performed by my friend at Common Sentai Power Posting. It was going to have vocals, but we ran out of time, unfortunately. Shout out to Midnight Spectre, who does all of the lo-fi rider tracks I use as background music. And thank you to my Patreons for making this possible. I made a movie, and it's all because of you, for better or for worse. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Tim Shields, and when it comes to tokusatsu, I'm your guy. I can't wait to make more of these.